Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Karabi again. I am doing a video recording for a specific section of a lesson from the 3R's curriculum, Rights, Respect, and Responsibility, from the Advocates for Youth, a division of the Centers for Disease Control. And excuse me, I'm doing this video as an update to a previous video that I had done, which included multiple days worth of lessons. So with that said, let me share my screen and show you this slideshow. So today's lesson is specifically about sexual orientation. And as you can see, it says understanding sexual orientation, how we feel, what we do, and who we are. And basically, what they're saying is, well, let me go. What they're saying is that it has three components to it, and we're going to come back to that in a second. Now, if you're in Mr. Karabi's health class, this is being given either the same day or the day after our introduction to the sexual health unit. And on day one, during the introduction of the sexual health unit, we defined sex, we defined sexual activity, but we also defined sexuality, specifically human sexuality. And a lot of you answer the question for human sexuality of your attraction, who you're attracted to, what gender you're attracted to. And that's not wrong, but what you did was you defined sexual orientation as opposed to sexuality. Looking at the previous video, you can see that human sexuality can be defined in two different ways, but the abbreviated paraphrase definition is any way in which your sexuality is manifested through your personality. And it can be all different things. And you should watch the previous video having to do with defining human sexuality. I think it's called Sexual Health Unit Intro in lessons 1 and 2 or something like that. So in any case, understanding sexual orientation is how we feel, what we do, and who we are. So taking this directly from the Advocates for Youth slideshow, 3R's curriculum, this is an almost identical slideshow to anywhere in the entire country. I did edit one or two tiny little things that I noticed that were different. But in any case, the definition is the gender or genders of the people to whom we are romantically, physically, or sexually attracted to. You could very easily, and I'm going to use the annotation tools to do this, you could really easily remove the beginning of this definition and just put who we are romantically, physically, or sexually attracted to. But it's gender is there for a reason. And for the most part, if you look at the LGBT plus acronym, so to speak, the first three letters, LGB, are speaking about sexual orientation in terms of what gender, or what parts the person has that you're being interested in sexually. In the actual class, during the As You Enter, you're asked to speak about some elements of sexual orientation, okay? You're asked to speak about some elements of sexual orientation and what that means, and some factors that you look out for and that you consider. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I had to pause it for a second. I got distracted. In the beginning of the As You Enter of this particular class, you were asked to list a few different sexual orientations. And one of the things that you were asked to list, you were asked to list a minimum of 4 different sexual orientations. And then inevitably, in all 4 of my classes in the fall of 2020, I asked somebody to volunteer to name which 3 they put on their paper that they thought everybody named. And what they named was heterosexual. In some cases, some people said straight, gay or lesbian, and bisexual. Now, before I go any further, I want to bring your attention onto my website to a link from lesson 9.4 of the 3R's curriculum, which has a handout that goes along with it called yellow flag language. So red flag language are like warning signs of danger. And we can use those in terms of drug addiction or violence or self-harm or whatever. So red flags are warning signs to unhealthy relationships, dating violence. They're red flags and warning signs to watch out for. But yellow flag language, that's like terms to use cautionary. Sometimes it's the correct term, but there could be a better term. In other cases, it's the correct term when used in the correct context. And one word, 3 words that are like that are homosexual, straight, and sexual preference. So for homosexual, the correct term to use, the recommended term would be gay or lesbian. And they're almost together now. As a matter of fact, surveying our students in school, most of the students that identify as female, that are physically, romantically, or sexually attracted to other females, do not use the term I'm a lesbian. They say I'm gay. So gay has pretty much overtaken to mean that you have preferences. So I just used the yellow flag term, that you have a sexual orientation that allows you to be attracted, or tells you to be attracted, or calls you to be attracted to people of the same sex or gender. So in any case, moving right along, the word homosexual can sometimes be looked at out of context and used in slang. It can be used as a label. It can be used to demean and put down. And you can read the reasons there from the 3R's curriculum. The word straight, a better term would be heterosexual, because straight is the opposite of bent or crooked, which can imply that something's wrong with you if you are not heterosexual. Sexual preference, the better term to use is sexual orientation. Occasionally, preference is the right term to use, but sexual orientation is so much more than a preference. There are there's some other yellow flag terms, and there's also a myth. There's a bunch of myths and facts, but one of them is you can tell whether someone is heterosexual, lesbian, or gay, or bisexual by the way they look or act. And the answer is not necessarily. It's not really something that you can usually tell. So sometimes you can, because stereotypes do exist, and some people do purposely manifest their behaviors to fit stereotypes without realizing it subconsciously. Sometimes they do realize it, but most of the time you can't tell. And how would you tell? You'd have to ask. And when would you ask? Because it's none of your business. When it needs to be your business, like in a relationship. But in any case, sexual orientation can mean that you're romantically, physically, or sexually attracted to more than one gender. It can also, something that I point out in class to my 11th graders, I say, do you have to know your sexual orientation right now as an 11th grader? And the answer is inevitably no. Some of you still don't know your sexual orientation. Different articles have argued that around the ages of 5 to 7, you start to define your sexual orientation, but you don't even know what sex is. And then once you hit puberty, you continue to start having your sexual orientation defined for you, but you still might not know what it is. And it continues to develop as you grow and get more mature and more knowledgeable. So sexual orientation has 3 parts to it. It has the orientation, who we're attracted to, the actual orientation, who we're attracted to, the behavior, how we behave sexually, and then the identity, what we call ourselves. So for the orientation part, that's something that we can't control per se. So it's the question, when I was in high school, when I was your age, the question was always like, people that are gay, is it nature or nurture? Is it biological or is it environmental? And the real life answer is it's really a complex combination of both internal and external factors, which develop someone's sexual orientation throughout their life. And sometimes it can be changing. But for the most part, the orientation is who we are attracted to. Your behavior and identity, however, is a choice. And your behavior is how we behave sexually. What do we choose to do? When do we choose to do it? Who do we choose it with? That is always a choice, because as we'll get into future lessons, when we talk about consent, when we talk about boundaries, when we talk about sexual decision-making, it's ultimately your choice and your decision, what you choose to do with your sexual orientation and with your life when it comes to being sexually active. Finally, we get the third component, identity. It's what we choose to call ourselves. And that is the label that we look out for, okay? And that is, are we gay? Are we bisexual? Are we lesbian? Are we heterosexual? Like, what is our label? And then there's other ones as well. So in most cases, statistically speaking, they all match. So if you're attracted only to people of a different sex or different gender, then that's orientation. That of course, that statement created by the Advocates for Youth is assuming that you live in a nation, in an area where the binary exists, male and female, sex assigned at birth. As we know from previous classes, the sex assigned at birth and the anatomical sex and the biological sex is typically male or female. It can also be intersex, but it's typically male or female in the binary. And gender identity is different. That is a social construct that develops starting at the age of 2 and has a complex array of internal and external factors, which has somebody's gender and gender identity defined. Once they decide their gender identity, it can be in the binary and be cisgender. It can be opposite the binary. It can be outside the binary. So it can be gender non-conforming. It could just be non-binary. It could be gender fluid. There's a whole bunch I didn't mention, but that's a topic for a different class. So in any case, the orientation, if I'm attracted only to people of a different sex, if chances are I'll only be sexual with people of a different sex, that's my behavior. And my identity is, chances are I'll call myself heterosexual. When they don't match, identity wins. Identity wins. And I have the right, 3R's means rights, respect, and responsibility. I have the right to call myself whatever I wish and to select the defined sexual orientation that is right for me. Examples are here. You can pause it if you want to, but the short version of this answer is, how does she identify? You have to ask her. It's none of your business, but the time, and same thing with this particular student right here. It's none of your business until it's your business. It's your business if you're trying to get them into a relationship with you, or you're trying to fix them up with one of your friends or something like that, then it's your business. So you would have to ask, so it's the same trick question. But both people in these examples, if you pause the video, have a right to call themselves whatever they want. They may both call themselves gay. They both may call themselves bisexual. They both may call themselves queer. It might be something else altogether. It might be questioning. It might be curious. It might be bi-curious. We have no idea what they're going to call themselves. But the bottom line is, every person has a right to identify however they wish. Others need to respect who that person is, even if the person's identity doesn't make sense to them, or is confusing, or if it's something you disagree with. And because we are all human, so we should respect each other to be respected, right? And also, no matter who you're attracted to or you're sexual with, when you're ready to be sexual, you have a responsibility to keep that relationship safe and to practice safer sex for yourself and your partners. On the scripted 3R's lesson, there's some sections on the lesson to go and put additional words on the whiteboard. And these are the most common answers when I ask students, what are the next sexual orientations other than heterosexual, lesbian, or gay, or bisexual? So this one is pansexual. This definition comes from stophomophobia.com. And the really short version is, it means all. And so people that are pansexual are capable of falling in love with all genders. And this is pansexual further defined. You can pause the video to read the quote by David Bond and look at the link for the article for there. Asexual is basically meaning that you're not sexually attractive to anyone. I just said that wrong. You don't find people sexually attractive, but it doesn't mean that you will hate it or avoid it when the time's right for you. It just means that you don't find people particularly sexually attractive. That came from asexualityarchive.com. And then there's demisexual. So demisexuality is a sexual orientation in which one feels sexual attraction only after forming an emotional connection. I recommend the video that I like to show my classes, and I'm not going to show it here, is called 10 Different Sexualities to Know About. It's from Psych2Go. I totally recommend that you watch that video, and it's on the webpage if you would like to do that. That said, I'm signing off. Have a great rest of your day.